Okay.
They don't.
We'll behave.
They don't.
Normally
They come in their house.
Didn't do that after that, I assume.
Yeah, I'm still discombobulated from literally being gone for over.
Yeah, it's warm.
This whole floor is
Oh,
Right? Is that like the airplane?
Oh, I should point out,
Don't even go.
if you listen, it's
There's no-
quiet.
okay, well, I just thought maybe it wasn't coming on yet.
No, we fixed it.
Oh,
Fancy.
oh, wow, the rumbling.
I wanted to give Mike his props since he was taking
That's
it.
awesome.
I feel like I'm sitting in the sauna.
That's a different issue. It's not making the.
Yeah.
But I want to give Mike his props since I said, Mike, you gotta get that fixed.
Okay, I'm gonna call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting for April 9th. We have Councilmember Hubler here. And have we heard anything from Councilmember Roach?
Have not.
Okay, okay. Well, we will continue then. We're gonna go to item C, approval of minutes. I did look over the minutes and didn't see any mistakes. Did anybody want to say they saw a mistake? Any corrections? No? Okay. All right, we're gonna move to item D, department reports and presentations. Item number 1, East Pierce Fire and Rescue Monthly Report. Chief Parkinson.
All right, my report begins on page 5. And unless anybody has any specific questions, I will say we've had some issues with our data analytics program and our reporting software. So I've asked our data analyst to validate all of our stats in here because there's a couple that caught my eye that don't seem right. So I will just say that there's nothing unique going on, no serious incidents to report that are outside of the norm, and call volume is basically just on trend of where we are historically. And then just kind of good to know items for you outside of stats, and if there's any questions about stats at the end, happy to answer them. But just a reminder, we do have Prop 1 on the ballot, so those hit ballots hit mailboxes on Friday and are due back on the 23rd. So my 6-week stint of roadshow presentations is finally done. My wife's happy about that. If you weren't aware, Commissioner Mike Cathy, who is a longtime fire commissioner of ours, passed away a couple of weeks ago. His memorial's this weekend. If you happen to know him and are interested in attending his memorial, please reach out. I can get you the information. But our board is in the process of filling his vacancy, so that will start at next week's board meeting and conclude in May. And just kind of last item we have is our latest round of 6 recruits will graduate from their on-site post academy this Friday and be hitting the streets shortly thereafter. So watch out if you're on the sidewalk. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Okay, these 6 recruits, sorry, I missed part of what you said. Are the 6 recruits just recruits for, I mean?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. They're all firefighter EMTs.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Okay, we will we'll move on to item 2, the Bonney Lake Police Department monthly report. Chief Keller.
So Chief Barry's on vacation and I apologize for no stats. So we tried to pull stats and there's an issue with Southside 911 right now.
There's stats in the paper.
Oh, there is some stats. So there was some, we tried to pull stats last week. And I don't see where those are.
That's prosecutor report.
Yeah, we couldn't pull them. They wouldn't. And then when we tried to get them, they said there was something wrong with their system. So I'm sorry. So we did try. So, the updates that I have for you is our 2 entry guys officers were able to get into the CGTC Academy later on this month. So we've been doing a pre-academy for them. Our goal was to commission them before they went into the academy, but they were able to get a couple classes ahead. So they weren't supposed to go until the summer. So we were lucky. We got them both into the academy. They'll be going away here for the next 4.5 months to the CJTC Academy. 2 laterals will be starting next Monday.
CJTC.
CJTC. criminal justice training.
Is that where Blia
center.
is?
Yeah. BLEA.
Oh,
They used to call it
okay.
BLEA.
Thank you. It's new.
Well, BLEA is basic law enforcement academy, so within the CDTC, so they'll be going to BLEA. Yeah, and CDTC.
Okay, thank you.
Police academy.
Yep.
So they'll be
I'm familiar
gone.
with Blia.
But we did a lot of academy stuff with them, and they're both good guys, and one's a prior, firefighter. He was a federal firefighter. And then the other was a dolphin trainer and a dolphin, guy in the military, and dolphins in the military. It's just, we're not supposed to ask them.
Wow.
It's like top secret
Yeah.
or something.
Oh,
So
Wow.
both good guys, super smart, and so we got a couple good pickups. The two laterals will start next Monday. One is Paul Johnson. He's coming from Buckley. He has extensive experience with, as an investigator for Milton PD, pretty sharp guy. The other is a lateral from Milton. He's a two-striper, master police officer there, corporal, and he has a lot of experience also. He came from Tukwila, but before that. So two good laterals. They'll start next Monday with us and go right into FDO, which will be a 90-day field training. And then we had CSO, community service officer, awards on Friday for the second time. And we got 3 or 4 really good candidates that will come from either probation officer. We have some bailiffs. We have some jailers in there. And so I'll be doing chief's interviews next week and 2 for that. So we'll get a couple of backgrounds. Pretty sharp. A couple of them were really sharp. So. Yeah, so
they're starting on Monday.
the 2 laterals will
Yeah.
start Monday morning. We're all set for them.
Awesome.
And then the last thing, cars, 4 out of the 9 cars that were late a year and a half and get police cars. So we have 4 down at Systems now, and then we'll be getting hopefully 5 this year. That'll get us caught up with just this year. So we're kind of behind there. So I think that's about it. Unless you guys have questions.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, excellent. All right. We will move on to item D3, Prosecutor's Office Monthly Report. Prosecutor Burke, go for it.
Thank you. So in March, we had a total of 419 hearings. That's where we're representing the city in court. 19 of those were arraignments. That's new charges that have been filed, and 135 were pretrial. So that's ongoing cases where no disposition that has been entered. We reviewed 11.8 hours of body worn camera. The amount of hours of body worn camera has been a little low the last couple of months, but sometimes we do have to watch those hours multiple times. We do have one incident where we had to watch that footage multiple times to look at specific things. So even though it might only be an hour, we're spending 4 hours watching it to make sure about certain things. We provided 105 discovery packets to defense counsel. So that's all the discovery that we're sending out to defense. Kristen Bisnaw, she's our limited duration legal specialist 1. She attended a 40-hour victim course called the Core Advocacy Training Course. It covered a whole bunch of different aspects of supporting victims who are navigating the criminal justice system. It covered advocacy skills, case management, victim rights, resources. And after she completed that course, they have a final exam at the end, and she came in 3rd out of the entire class on that final exam. She has applied for the provisional credentialed advocate license. There's 4 different levels. There's provisional, basic, intermediate, and advanced. What level you're at has to do with your experience and training. So because she completed this class, she can apply for the provisional, the lowest level, and then hopefully she'll work her way up from there as she gets experience and more training. I was a part of the LAHAR exercise in the policy group, along with John. That exercise, which Rachel will talk about, there were over 30,000 students that participated in an exercise, where we're practicing as if the LAHAR happens. I was a raider in the YMCA mock trial state championship that was held at Pierce County Superior Court. I rated one of the semifinal rounds. It's a really cool opportunity for high school students in the area. They get to practice their oral advocacy. They get to do, direct examination, cross-examination, opening, closing, they get to argue a motion. And all the judges that are used for it, they actually are real judges, and then the raters are all, practicing attorneys. So, everyone that was in it did a really good job. I also went on a graveyard, shift ride along, so I got to be out there with, the officers late at night, well past my bedtime, to see what that's like. And then, in community court, program is going really well. We currently have 13 participants in the program. We have a few more that we anticipate will be entering, once they are lined up for their inpatient bed date. On April 29th, which is a Monday at noon, we're having our monthly community court meeting in this room. Judge Daniels asked me to, let you know that council members are invited. It's an opportunity to meet, various treatment providers and stakeholders in the community court program. And we also discuss any gaps in services that we're seeing and brainstorm and network on how to meet those needs. And also lunch is provided. And then on Monday, May 13th at 2:30 PM, we are having our next community court graduation, and all are invited to attend.
You said it's at 2:30?
Yes, Monday, May 13th at 2:30 PM, and that's in the courtroom or council chamber, and all are invited to attend. And then the other, success story out of community court, we did have a participant who, has a baby and was having issues for getting formula for her baby, and Ms. Lewis, the community court case manager, was able to work with Great Roots Northwest, the food bank, to get that person formula for their child. And that was a request that came in on a Friday, and she was able to work with them to get that family that formula.
That's awesome.
All right, any questions?
No,
No. Like,
that's great.
mock trial, that sounds really
Yeah.
cool to see that. It's really cool.
Mock trials. Okay, very good. All right, let's move on to item 4, Emergency Management Monthly Report. Ray Jean Creel.
Okay, so I am sharing my screen for you up front. I wanted to just show you really quickly the dashboard that we utilized for the exercise and kind of give you a run through. This is actually, I'm currently logged in, but we do host a website called epiceoc.com. So I am logged in, and we have our school evacuation dashboard that we utilize. It's an internal system that we log into, and we're able to track the progress of every school within the Epic area. So I can tell you on March 21st, we had 45,078 students participate in this exercise. That they either evacuated based on their location or they practiced their shelter in place. That was every public school district. It included a number of private schools, and a couple of Montessori and early learning programs. In our own EOC, we had more than 50 people in attendance. It was fantastic. That was the most people we've had in there, I think, ever. We had representation. We had huge turnout from our own employees, which was wonderful. It was a great training opportunity. But we also had the city of Sumner with us, their mayor, their police chief, and then their gentleman who handles GIS came up and worked with us as well. We also had the city of Pacific come up, just because they could potentially be in the path and they wanted to see what this process looked like as they start planning for their own kiddos. So we had their mayor and police chief and public works director that were in attendance. We also had representation from Lakewood, Puyallup, the Pierce County Amateur Radio Team, East Pierce Fire and Rescue was in unified command with us. We had Pierce County Department of Emergency Management, Washington State EMD, Washington State Department of Transportation, and the USGS. And it was really fantastic to be able to work alongside everyone. You know, in large part, this is a hybrid exercise because real world, we have kids moving through the neighborhood, as you are all aware. And so our number one priority during this exercise is to help them practice their exercise, right? To help them practice their evacuation. And make sure everyone gets to, from point A to point B and back to point A safely. But it also gives us an opportunity to work together, to work with the other EOCs. So Puyallup was activated, as was the city of Buckley. And so we were able to all work together and coordinate, communicate, share resources if we needed to, which we did have to. They had some communication challenges out in Carbonado. So we deployed one of our radio operators out there with some new equipment, and then they were able to actually track where the kids were. So it was a really great opportunity to be able to practice that resource sharing. It also, in addition, I will never be able to name all the other agencies that participated, but I can tell you all the jurisdictions in EPIC participated. City of Tacoma, Central Pierce Fire, West Pierce Fire. I already mentioned Lakewood, University Place, Stillicum, Edgewood, Fife, all had representation in this. FEMA was present in the Puyallup EOC. And then King County largely provided drone coverage, and also their helicopter, Guardian One, along with Pierce County's helicopter and a couple of drone teams. So it was quite the undertaking. We're working on putting together some videos that we can share for public information, just more education around what's a lahar, what do the routes look like out of the valley and so forth. And we're working with PCTV to do that. But I just wanted you guys to have a chance to see the tool that we use. We actually put it into play 2 years ago with the exercise. We had a chance to refine it a bit more this year. But it's fun. Hopefully in about a month, I'll be able to show you the recorded version where you can see everyone start, everyone in process, and then as everyone finished. We were able to find a couple of glitches. Because again, tracking all of the students and staff is one of our main priorities, making sure that they're all safe. And we had a glitch with Puyallup High School, not arriving on site, but it was a computer glitch that we were able to work out. So it was just another one of those accountability pieces that we can use with our technology when it works.
So I guess I'm just curious, how can you tell how many people, I guess, are there drones that are looking for heat? No, I can
So
do
we
that.
have all the,
How did they detect there's 45,000 people?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have all the schools registered in there. And so ahead of time, ahead of the exercise, we work with all the school districts, safety and security directors to confirm population of every school or every facility. So for instance, in the Sumner Bonney Lake School District, they had a number of, not just schools, but they also had maintenance and operations and nutrition and their admin.
Yeah.
So we work with them to confirm like how many students and staff and faculty are in each school, how many staff are in the different sites, and it all gets input on the backside. And so we maintain that annually with the school districts.
Okay, so it's just, it's basically contacting a representative at the school. It's not necessarily like, I'm imagining there's like drones above.
No, no.
Detecting and then it's
No.
averaging and estimating how many people are there.
No, and you know, the drones are really there for, really just for situational awareness, right? We want to make sure
Yeah.
we don't have like a random person entering the scene with all the kids or something to that effect. We have to be really careful because some of those kids have, I just lost the term, where we can't photograph them, right? And then
Yeah.
share it publicly.
Yeah,
And so we have to be really careful with the footage that we capture and how it gets shared.
okay,
So it's really more for just accountability and security.
okay.
Yep.
Do you have any questions?
No, I watched all the kids walking down there, so.
A lot of them.
It was cool to watch there to see like the lines of
Mhm.
all the kids
Mhm.
going across. And I know the high schoolers walked back. So you watched
Yeah.
them all walk over, back a little bit later. So
Yes.
it was neat to see it in action and you know, how getting people in and out of parking lots and between students and like all the safety measures that had to come into play down there in that the whole Red Mart parking lot was pretty crazy.
It was a huge planning effort because every school, as they evacuated, at least within our district, they were led by a police officer. And then we had approximately 40 JROTC kids, students that were
Makes
placed
sense.
along the route
Yeah.
that were volunteering. And then you had the kids, you know, that were walking, and then they were followed up by a number of school district maintenance vehicles, right, to kind of close off the end of it. And so as they were going, you know, the JROTC kids could go ahead and kind of move signs for them, and then M&O could kind of come behind and move the signs. East Pierce had fire marshals out in the area with their big vehicles and flashing lights and, you know, move them through as quickly and safely as possible, but also getting the roads open again. So, yeah, it was quite the endeavor.
Yeah, I didn't have to take my class, but a substitute teacher had to. Uh-oh.
I wondered
I
how that
know.
was going.
Yeah. Oh, we're having a water drill. Awesome.
I live in the country.
No, that's awesome. Okay, that's excellent. Very good. Let's look at item 5, code enforcement quarterly report. Jason Sullivan.
So we have our quarterly report for the code enforcement team. This is the first quarter we've actually had two full-time code enforcement officers. So we are actually kind of working through the backlog of some of the older cases. We opened 33 new cases this reporting period. We do work off of a prioritization matrix, so we've included that as attachment 1. We currently have 123 cases in some level of openness and working through the process. During the same quarter, we closed 49 cases. We collected about $3,600 in civil penalties. It's important to note, one of the amendments that council approved this year was the ability for the city attorney to settle civil penalties issues without having to go to the hearing examiner, which is a significant cost reduction for both the city and the property owners. And as I've always said, civil penalties are not the goal of code enforcement, abatement is. So a lot of times when somebody has abated the violation, if they work with us, we will typically forgive the civil penalties because that's not our objective. We abated, there was a settlement agreement on a number of cases where we actually reduced or eliminated the violation because the violation was kind of abated in close proximity to us issuing the notice of civil penalty, or was stayed as the homeowner tried to abate the violation. We'd rather than spend the money on working on fixing it than giving the money to the city. So, and I can answer any questions if you have any questions. Oh, I forgot one thing. As we close these cases, one of the things we're working to transition to is bringing on the second code enforcement officer was taking on the enforcement for our utilities, mainly fog, which is fats, oils, and greases, preventing those from getting into our sewer system because that can create huge maintenance issues. And then the other one is cross connection, which is backflow devices to make sure that those are not, people aren't able to send their nasty, dirty water into our water system, which could create a lot of problems for us. And so one of our code enforcement officers will be taking on that over the next quarter to deal with individuals who choose not to make sure their systems are working correctly.
That just popped in my brain. I don't think I've received a letter that it's time to test my backflow, my sprinkler system.
From us,
Yeah,
it's coming.
okay.
They just went out.
It's like usually in by now.
Yeah, it just,
That just made me go, oh wait,
It
it's
went-
time to test.
it went out, I think in the last day, or it's going out today. It's,
You gotta check the mail soon.
yeah. We mailed out 100, cross connection made out 148 letters to people who need to test their backflow devices through the city and out in the county, whoever has those in play.
Okay, very good. Okay. Very good. And I feel like you're the next item 6, Allen York Park Operational Plan Update. Go for it.
Yep, we just want to give the Public Safety Committee a update on what we've been doing as we implement the plan that we briefed the committee on. We have got the cameras installed at Field 5. However, we need to pull power to get them online. Lance is working to get quotes to be able to install the power. There's already conduit installed. We just have to pull the power lines through that. The parks groups have been doing a lot of vegetation management this year. We've included some pictures on page 2 of where they've kind of thinned out the vegetation to provide better visual observation of areas from like the park into the playground, from the street into the front of the snack shack. They're currently out there right now doing vegetation maintenance on a trail. That's an old utility road that runs through the undeveloped area behind the park, so that the police can drive back there to do to observe the area to make sure people are not doing things they're not supposed to do. And I wanted to point out that this vegetation management was only able to be done because we had the 4 parks maintenance workers this year. If we would have been at 2 parks maintenance workers, all this vegetation management we would have been doing really wouldn't have been able to get done. Having those 4 staff members allowed us to get out and take care of vegetation during the winter so that like trails, the parks, they're ready to be used when the summer rolls around, and also during the winter when people are using them. So the trails aren't overgrown. So having those 4 park maintenance workers really was a huge benefit to the community from a security standpoint, because we were able to do that vegetation management.
Question. So I'm kind of looking at the before and after, for the vegetation management.
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out what, I guess, because I'm seeing one that's from like, maybe like where it's the deciduous trees are still there.
Yeah. So
And then there's winter, which obviously it looks more,
yeah. So if you look right where that deciduous tree is, there's a fir tree behind it. We limbed it all the way up so that you can see under it.
I see the deciduous tree that no longer has leaves on it.
Yeah, and then if you look at with the no leaves, you see how it's more of this, see how much you can see of the building behind everything.
Okay.
If you compare photo 2,
Yeah.
you can't see the snack shack. Photo 2, you can see the snack shack.
Yeah.
I guess that's the best way to look at it. So if
Yeah.
you're sitting in the street looking toward the snack shack, in photo A, you can't see all of it. You can't see part of the parking lot. In photo, we removed a couple trees. There's 3 arborvitae that were removed, and then there was a coniferous tree that we limbed up higher for about 8 feet
Yeah.
so that you could see under it.
Okay.
And then at the playground, we removed every other shrub so that you could see through it from the street side, and you could see through.
Yeah,
through
the shrubs, I can definitely see kind of
Yeah.
the spacing. Okay.
And so having those extra maintenance workers this summer, over this winter, allowed us to do a lot of vegetation management that we normally wouldn't be able to do, and set us up well for summer success. I just wanted to kind of, point that out to the council and say thank you, because the council did give us those 2 extra staff members this year, and we've really been taking advantage of it to do things like this.
Yeah.
Parking, we're currently working on installing the paid parking signs. Leslie has been working with Sandy Signs to get them all done. We coordinated with the prosecutor's office to make sure that they were all legal. They had all the verbiage they needed to have on them. Those are getting ordered and will be getting installed over this next month. We also met to discuss how we were going to control parking and operations around the old City Hall site, Public Works Center. One of the things that we talked about on site is there's currently a loop in front of the old Public Works Center, and one side of that loop's really not set up for parking, and people really try to park there, and it creates kind of a bad situation. So we're actually closing that part of the loop off and turning it into a one-way drive-through that comes from the senior center onto the old City Hall site, and it exits only onto Bonney Lake Boulevard in order to kind of improve the flow of traffic there, and not, we were getting a lot of cars double parking or parking in such a way that other cars couldn't get through the loop. And we figured the best way was just to turn it into one way and use the side of the loop that really has the parking stalls in it. So you're not losing parking, you're losing kind of the shoulder areas where cars really shouldn't be parking. And installing exit signs, and then also blocking off kind of the old Public Works yard, so cars aren't trying to get up back in there to park, where we're trying to run the parks operation and also begin demolition of some of those structures, get those structures ready for demolition this summer. So kind of wanted to give you a map of how we're kind of laying out and controlling those areas, because we didn't have a real good plan when we first came with the public safety.
Is this just for regular parking, I'm assuming, on this one-way travel?
It's going to be signed for paid parking, so if it needs to be used for the park, it can.
Okay.
We're going to give placards to all the senior center visitors, and senior center people go to the senior center that they can put in their car. They wouldn't have to pay for parking, and we're going to have that conversation with the senior center and the people who use the center before we put the signs up and have the placards for them. We worked with the police department on how to manage that, and this was kind of the best way we figured they would do it. They would just walk around and make sure they had the placard in their car.
I like the idea of the one way. That does create a little bit more of a smoother deal there. I guess my question just becomes, I see obviously like because it's a one way, there'll be the exit, but how will residents know that they have to come kind of, that it's one way and that they have to come around to the side of the senior center to enter into that loop?
I think we can get some signs out there.
Okay.
We were trying to keep it a little bit more secretive so that it could mainly be used for the senior center.
Oh, okay.
And then on those times when the senior centers aren't active, people are looking for parking and we can direct them there on those busy weekends.
Okay.
We're trying to kind of preserve that area as best we can for the senior center use, knowing that when they're not there, it will get flooded with parking. And so how do we best manage that?
Okay.
And then finally, this was the natural area trail that I was talking about. We kind of showed the access road here. There's an old access road. It's not old, but it's a utility access road for the sewer line that runs through that area. In talking with the police department, there's been a lot of concerns related to criminal activity that happening in that area because there's not a good way of getting eyes on the street.
Is this the fairly wooded area?
It's extremely wooded.
Yeah, okay.
And unlike Midtown where we could go in and like obliterate all the underbrush and raise the
Yeah.
trees, we really can't because it's critical areas.
Oh, I see where it's at, yeah.
And so we tried to come up with a different plan. And we walked it with Assistant Chief Keller, Chief Barry, Works Operations crews. We walked the main road and the crews have been out there raising the canopy. So there's more clearance on on the access road, widening out the vegetation clearance limit. So there's more access, so that the police don't have to get out of the car. They can actually drive their police cruisers
All the way through.
all the way through.
Yeah.
And so that we can have a continual observation of that area. So that people, when they go back there, the police can roll back there. And I know Assistant Chief Keller has been talking to his guys about how he's gonna police it. But we wanted to get the road open so they could actually physically drive back there.
Yeah, no, that's great. Woods by a park.
And
always
that'll be the
that.
whole utility access road.
Yeah, all the way to that 90-degree bend.
There'll be a turnaround,
Okay.
but this is where the kids have been hanging out, doing having
Mhm.
fires and stuff like that. So
Okay.
be able to
Mhm.
at least get out on foot and deal with them there, so.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I want to say this whole plan has been a real joint effort between emergency management, administration, the police department, the prosecutor's office, the risk manager, David Wells, myself, all the operations crews. We made the decision, originally we were gonna meet till about this time of the year and then implement the plan, but in talking, we decided since this was the first year, we were gonna continue meeting every Thursday through October, so that we can manage it as we go. Because things are gonna come up that we don't realize. There's gonna be some new thing that we haven't thought of. So that we really are focused as a team on how to, I guess the lack of the better word is to return the park back to the residents of Bonney Lake. The complaint that we've been hearing is that the park is being used more and more by people outside the city for things that are not good. And so we really want to take this opportunity in this year to really go back and kind of claim the park for the residents of the city so that, you know, parents feel safe sending their kids to Allen York Park over the summer. So lots of things that we're doing in the park to improve security, lots of coordination. I think we've been out there 4 or 5 times walking the park, identifying areas where we need to tweak things. There's a couple parking stalls that we took out so that we can have emergency vehicle parking for East Pierce Fire and Rescue if they have to show up. Because last year there was nowhere to show up, even if someone just has a heart attack, there's nowhere for them to pull in. And there's a couple parking spots that we took out to give the police some observational control. So it's really a combined effort and we're hoping that, sure, there will be complaints because it's different, but really the goal is to return the park back to the residents so they, if you live there, you feel comfortable letting your kid run down the street and go down their park for the day.
Question for the kind of the widening of this road access system, the utility access road and things like that. How much is that? gonna cost, or is that already part of something that's budgeted or?
It's just,
Okay.
it's part of,
The maintenance.
it's part of having that, we would have had to send it, like get a contract. and
Right,
Go out and hire somebody to do it, but because we had the 4 parks maintenance workers this
Yeah.
year, we were able just to use their labor hours
okay.
and their vehicles to go out and trim the vegetation. So it's really, is it a cost to the city? Yeah, because we're using our labor
But
hours.
it's, yeah, but we're using the workers.
We're using the workers you have, but if you didn't have that, yeah, we would have had a contract and it would be a lot more money.
Who did Midtown when they did all that?
We did it this year.
Oh, okay.
In the past, we've had to hire contractors to come out and do it, but because we've have the 4 parks maintenance workers, we were able to go send our crews out there and do it this year.
Okay.
Just
Who's
use,
the initial one where it
uh,
was like
it was
bushes?
contracted out. It was,
It was, okay. Oh,
yeah, I don't remember who it was, but it was contracted out, and one of the things that,
that was like so great.
yeah, and one of the things that we wanted to take this year was the opportunity to show the difference of if we really did have 4 parks maintenance workers
Yeah.
full time, what we could do.
Yeah.
And so there's been a concentrated effort of the things that we would normally contract out. Can we do those in-house? And
Okay.
so the crews have really, the 4 maintenance workers crew, I think they have really stepped up. And they have been out like every day. We're getting email, I mean, John's seen them, tons of emails from the community thanking us for the condition the parks are during the winter.
Mhm.
Because they were able to go out and like clean up Funnel Creek Trail in the middle of the winter when we normally aren't able to do that. So people can use that trail through the winter. We're able to take down Midtown Park. We did that all with our own staff and crews, saving
Mm.
a lot of money to the general fund. We also were able to do all the work at Allen Park with our own internal crews, from the striping to everything. So the having that full parks crew allows us to do that work without sending it out to contract, and we can do it faster because I can just pick up the phone and be like, hey, Kramer, AC Keller said he needs more height on those trees, and he grabs his crews and goes out there and takes care of it.
Awesome. Okay, very good.
Question on the senior center one,
Mhm.
as I thinking here. The one way, is there any way to like almost maybe have signage out that says no parking during senior center hours?
We thought about that, but we didn't have a good way of like, what are the senior center hours? Because they do bingos on Friday nights, some nights. And so that's why we thought if we did the placards and we let the seniors know that ignore the signs, you just park and have fun. And then they have the placards, they can operate like they always have operated, with the least intrusion into their normal day-to-day.
Okay.
But we thought, we've had probably 6 meetings talking about just this one, because it's not easy. About if you put up the signs, how do you know they're not there for the senior center and versus the park? And this, between everybody, we probably had 5 discussions, and I think this was the one that we felt was the easiest to implement for the seniors, because literally they put the placard on their dashboard and
Yeah.
we take
So
care
like
of
the
everything
senior
else.
center will have the placards and then the senior comes in, grabs one, puts it back in their car.
Or if it's someone that goes regularly, they can just keep it in their car. Like the people who go all the time, we would just say, keep it in your car. And then we'll have different colored ones for when they do the rentals. And they'll have a date on them. And so they'll put that in their car. So when you're renting the senior center, you don't have to worry about the parking as well.
And the officers can look for the placard, so
There you go.
if there's a car that's double parked or not supposed to be there, towed or cited.
Okay. Very good. Any questions?
Am I missing anything, AC Keller?
Just that limiting up the trees is huge, and I think, I'm really glad the city did that. You could tell proof is in the pudding behind the theater. We've had almost 0 issues versus behind Safeway has been, we've had really bad issues there. So having that years ago, was that 10 years ago, a long time ago when they did that, it was night and day. Be able to see through there. We've had almost 0 incidents.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing with this little area. It's a very small area, but that's where the kids hang out and go and do their bad stuff. So we'll police it. We'll be able to police it this summer. So.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rachel.
And I just want to mention that I have been in contact with Dwayne at the Lake Taps Voters Group on Facebook. So I've been in contact with him and we'll send communications with him. And then we've created the newsletter page. So I'll be promoting that so people can sign up for boat users and park users can sign up for any updates. So we'll send those out as well.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Before I forget,
Mhm.
Dan texted back that he is in a work meeting.
Oh.
And asked if we can excuse him from today's meeting.
Okay, do we excuse him from today's meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
All in
Okay.
favor, aye.
All right, we are gonna move on to a discussion item E. This is AB 2328, resolution 3204 for Allen York Park 2024 Pierce County Security Contract. And I believe that is you. Hello, yes.
So then rather than having 4 Pierce County Security, we're asking for 2 this year. And that'll be Friday through Sunday. That'll be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So 10 a.m. is for the reason, park goers show up to get ready and get in. We're gonna allow 250 people inside the gates there. A lot of those are people who are showing up with their kids and stuff for the day to go to the park. A lot of our people that we have issues with are right around 1700, by around 5 p.m. They show up and do whatnot, bad stuff in the park. So by then the park should, or at least the gated area will be full. We'll have 1 Pierce County security officer there with a clicker. Once they reach full capacity, we'll have a big, large sign out that says park's full. People can go in and out of their cars and keep track of them. And like a mom with a child needs to go out and use the restroom or go out and you go to the car and come back, they can do that. They don't have to wait in line. The second security officer will be in the boat trailer parking area. They'll be standing, last year they weren't, but this year they'll be standing at Bonney Lake Boulevard, making sure that parking lot is only obtained by trucks or whatever part with trailers. The reason for that is if we don't do that, we get double parked in there, people can't go and pick up their boat. It's happened many times and park goers just don't care. They'll park in front of trucks that have trailers on them. So having them, if they both do their job and do it well there, I think we can get away with just having 2. The 2 security officers, the rest of the money that we're saving on that's gonna go to off-duty officers working the park. This is a new idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I think the whole park,
I love
the
it.
park plan is gonna work if we get to it right away. I think it's in 10 years, this has been the best plan we've had. The idea is to have 3 officers in the park. 1 traffic officer that's going around citing, enforcing the meters, but also towing cars out of double park, because a lot of times the kids will come from outside the area of double park. They just don't care. They got mom's car, they just don't care.
Mhm.
So towing cars and enforcing parking enforcement. The other 2 will be walking around the park. Security and safety for people, making sure that the large crowds that are gathered around the snack shack and they're not doing anything aren't doing that. They're smoking their marijuana, whatever they do, it's not gonna be tolerated. Making sure that there's no alcohol on the beach. And last year we had a lot of alcohol on the beach. We literally didn't have the manpower to deal with it. So we're gonna open up to outside agencies with their approval of their chief. And they'll be able to work overtime in the park, but part of that working overtime, the park's gonna be on foot, enforcing the laws and then keeping the place safe. So last year there was a few scary moments, definitely. In the last 10 years there has been. Last year was really bad. And we just didn't have the staffing to deal with it. So rather than having 4 Pierce County security officers, having 2 and using the rest of that money to go towards off-duty officers, I think is way more important, and it'll work. I think this plan's gonna work if we get to it right away in the first couple weeks. I think it's gonna be successful. So
With
definitely behind it.
with the off-duty officers, will they look like officers or will they be in plain clothes?
They'll be in fully marked cars with
Okay.
fully marked jumpsuits or whatever they want to wear. There'll be one of my sergeants, 2 sergeants, but one's in charge of it. The other sergeant's going to be, if he's on vacation, he's going to be out there telling them, making sure they're walking around and talking to people and make sure there's no alcohol,
Yeah.
0 alcohol in the park. And then last year we had not only did we have 300 to 500 people inside the gates, which is crazy. But we had that many outside by the snack shack. And they were congregating, doing their things, and there was literally, it was a free for all. So this year, that's not gonna happen. So
Okay.
with this, so we're hoping that getting the other agencies involved, we can get people from the outside to come work and, with that, and then having a roamer, a traffic roamer, and he'll be out, doing speed emphasis, double parking, towing cars, and then enforcing the meters. We have, well, I call them meters, but,
Paid parking.
I think it's gonna work. This is the best plan I've seen, since I've been assistant chief. So, and I think if we stick to it and get on it right away, I think it'll work out.
Okay.
So, in the past, in my opinion, it's, letting, 350 to 400 people in the park. That's usually, they start to funnel in from different areas. That's more like 500. And then outside by the snack shack, you have at least 350. That's like 850 people for one officer, and it just didn't work. So.
I'm just curious about the Pierce County security, personnel, the two that, we're gonna be hiring, because you said that there's gonna be one basically clicking people in and then the other in the parking area. I feel like a lot of problems happen when people have a really bad attitude about like being rejected, and not being able to come in from someone who's not a police officer. And so, like, how will that get handled, I guess? Because I feel like that's where people get really
Yeah.
pissy. Yeah.
And they do. So, but when you get to that 250, we're gonna put up a sign saying the park's full. And then those two roamers are gonna have to be over there. They're gonna have to be over there talking to people. And what has happened in the past is they get to full capacity, start to sneak in different areas where the kayaks are last year we had people throwing alcohol over the fences. Those two cops that are walking around and roaming, they need to be watching out for that. So it's gonna be a priority. So they could be there. It's just that I don't want them there all the time. I want them to be able to go around. I want them to go to the woods where some kids
Yeah.
are going back to smoke their marijuana or do whatever they do. I want them to be able to roam around the whole park and enforce the law, not just be in one spot.
Right.
But you're right, that's been an issue for sure.
So they'll be roaming the entire Allen York Park, not just the beachfront.
Yeah, I would rather than be on foot most of the time. Sometimes they'll be in a car, but most of the time, the traffic guy, I want in his car doing traffic enforcement. So,
Okay.
Out of the
yeah, so they could be there. They
Yeah.
can be right there. We could have one officer there. It's just that, like, you say you're there, then over by the basketball hoops, you get a large crowd and they're all just congregating there and they're playing their music and they're out of control. And obviously I want them to go over and deal with that right away.
Yeah.
So,
I guess I just asked because, and maybe it's just, it's cost prohibitive. But is there a pretty large difference in cost, I'm assuming, between off-duty security personnel? And then, because we're hiring the two security personnel to basically stand there. I just wonder if,
about 60% more cost per person.
And that
Okay.
44,000 that you guys are estimating, that is
For
for
the two.
just for the security officers for the summer.
Mhm.
And then what,
For an officer at that rate, you're looking at about right around $100 now. For a sergeant, about 113.
and is it already built into the budget for overtime for
Yes.
officers? to be
Yeah, we
there
have
and stuff
that,
during
we have that
too?
budgeted.
Okay.
That's why we're not going for. In my opinion, having 4 is the same as having 2. I'm not, Pierce County, they're really easy, good
no,
to
I
deal with,
totally
but
agree with you.
I'd rather have less
Totally
and
agree with
have,
you.
yeah, I would like, and I've said this before, this is one of the suggestions to the city in the future. This work plan works out, which I think it's going to, definitely behind it 100%, is to make it, temporary park, people to work in the park, like college kids to work and do that and give them a vest and have them out there. I'd rather, you could have them out there to do just about.
That's
Mhm.
true, yeah.
And they could be making probably a little bit less than that.
Mhm.
And we could be just as effective
Mhm.
with a radio or a cell phone to
Yeah,
contact.
to let,
them.
yeah, if there's
Yeah.
something.
In the past, we've had trouble, getting them to do that, so.
Mm.
And where that's at would be a next year plan if this works out. And I think it is. I'm definitely, I would say if I thought there were holes in this plan and I didn't think there were issues, I think it looks pretty good. But we have to stay up on top of it all the time, so.
That's good.
I'll just add one more thing. So one of the plans that worked out one thing that did work out last year with the park is we called our graveyard guys in early, on big days, like days that were like 90 degrees. Park was overwhelming. We did call in our graveyard guys in, and we made our, day shift guys stay late, and that actually worked, having more officers there. So we'll probably do that also. So there could be, 4 or 5 police officers in the park, but I want to keep the 2 patrol guys available for the businesses and on
Yeah.
410 where they belong.
Yeah.
Because that's what we, in the years past, it was sucked into the park. The park was the whole thing. Meanwhile, our visitors
Yeah.
and stuff, then calls are piling up or an accident, and I don't want to see that, so.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
great.
But yeah, this looks pretty good. It's definitely the best plan I've seen. Let's hope it works out. I think it's kind of,
All
if it doesn't, then it's Jason's.
right.
Hey, I'm glad that you're just saying that we had a good idea. Usually you tell me I have stupid ideas. I was just happy you told me I had a good one for
Oh,
once.
yeah, said like it was. It's
I'm
a good idea.
keeping the gold star that I earned.
Okay, sounds good. We will go to item F. Is there any open?
That would be the next council meeting.
Oh, yeah.
You would consider
Yeah.
regular
I feel because it's money, we need to put it on regular.
on
Just
public safety items.
Because it's money and we want to make sure people know that we're spending money to protect them, not just spending money to happy hazard and spend money.
I mean, what are the differences?
Well, there's full council. I don't know if there's a big difference, but it's just kind of where it gets placed. There's full council items and then there's public safety committee items. They're both discussed.
When is the nearest time?
April 23rd.
Okay.
To go there, public safety committee issues, and then you could just give a brief overview, and then if anyone has any questions, they'd ask them then. And then if not, then you would vote on it.
Okay. I mean, I'm mentioning it tonight.
It's pretty much the same thing,
Okay.
but it's going straight to council for it. So tonight you're given like a update for this meeting, but then this will be a council agenda item that night.
Okay. Okay.
And this is, so we had 4 last year, and we're just doing 2 this year. It's about the same cost. It's just around the same cost.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item F, for open committee discussion. Was there anything you wanted to say or mention?
No, good job on everything though. I mean, police department. Can't believe you guys don't have your reports.
Feel bad. I feel terrible. Yeah, it's my
No.
fault.
Looks like I'm just gonna keep moving. Item G, public comment, if nobody's here. And the meeting is adjourned. I'm still not sure, like,
Actually, like,
what question you